As Gresbon is going to be our first battleground. In the bottom right side, we are looking at the main base of the man who really made a good impression on me the very first time I got to cast him in this tournament a little over a week ago when he went up against Oliveira. He lost 0-2, but he actually looked like he had a chance. He looked like he belonged. Let's see if he can punch his ticket into the playoffs of the ESL Masters Asia. From Mystery Gaming, it's SCV.
And in the upper left, the perpetual runner-up of the Taiwanese Hong Kong region, now playing in the big water. It's nice.
It is the second time for Nice that he's going to duke it out with a Chinese Protoss in this tournament. The previous one was a Cyan in round 4, and that one didn't go all that well for him. Cyan was able to get the W there in that best of 3, and that forces Nice to be active here on the final playday, which I was a bit surprised by, right? I would have predicted Nice to already be done, and I would have thought that Haas, for instance, would be playing here on the final playday of group stage. It's very hard to make proper predictions here, because Nice can indeed be that macro-oriented player, especially comparing him to his buddy from Taiwan, Haas. Yeah, he's way more macro-oriented, but it's PvP, right? And in PvP, who truly is all-out macro? Doesn't everyone throw in a 3-gate or a 4-gate Blinkstalker or a 3-gate Robo once in a blue moon?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, Gresfon, though, actually, there are two arguments, right? On the one hand, yeah, why would you go aggressive on Gresfon? It's massive. But on the flip side, it's so much easier to hide some proxies. But over the course of this game, it does not appear that Nice is going to proxy something. Seems like SCV is not going out there at the moment. Although, technically, we have a proxy pylon coming out of Nice here, and it will, it's not going to put anything next to it, though.
Not yet, no.
No, he's not going
to some settings very quickly, but no, this is a pylon that well, it's very early, so I want to say he might let it finish up. It's a bit weird to drop that pylon, but drop it so early that you still don't see what comes out of the gateway units. Nice is going to see it right now, though. He will know about the 2 adepts that SCV has started off with. It's just 2 adepts into 2 stalkers, so we don't get to see that crazy 8 adept opening that we saw Christiana bust out yesterday in ESL Masters Europe. That worked out very well for that Polish Protoss. That was a weird game between Christiana and Spots, because Spots technically had a lot of good ideas, just nothing worked out for him. I felt a bit sorry. That's kind of how PvP goes sometimes, right? Like, you feel like you make a couple of smart adjustments, you think that you're having a good read on the game as the Shade gets cancelled, but obviously cancelling a Shade on top of 2 Stalkers means that your adepts are now in trouble. The first one died very quickly. The second one, I think, will live, but it's going to take a decent amount of damage.
Yeah, the downside there is, by the way, we did see Nice. He completed a pylon on the naturals, so not only does he know that what the second set of units are, it's 2 Stalkers, he has technically delayed the nexus of SCV just a little bit in SCV. He does have a quick Twilight, so he has been spending time with with his money here, trying to maybe find some other values. The Adept actually gets a full scout in the main base. It's not going to kill anything. There's a shield battery here, but even seeing the Nexus timing, seeing what may or may not be, almost as importantly, in the main base, is going to be rather positive for our SCV player. But now he's got to defend against a bunch of Stalkers, and it's, well, actually, SCV has 6 Stalkers here, so Nice, he's not going to get much done.
No, he's not going to get much done. He just has to run home. He also dropped a Robo, and I have the feeling that is because he was worried about SCV doing something very aggressive, right? Because he saw 2 adepts, and then he got a pylon block off, where his own Nexus was already being built, and he's like, this all seems a little too good to be true. I should probably go Robo just to make sure that I don't die against something aggressive. Now he sees a Nexus. It's just a whole lot later, which on one thing is nice, or on one hand, where you're like, okay, I know that I've got the better economy. On the other hand, it's a bit annoying because you're like, damn it, now I build a Robo before a Twilight, while a lot of players just feel more comfortable going Twilight first.
Yeah, certainly there was a time when the question was, do you go Robo first? Do you go Twilight first? Do you get a bunch of Immortals and play defensively? Or do you get that Twilight and have Blink a little bit faster and get aggressive? But they were kind of co-equal builds. And yeah, you know, Robo first has fallen out of the meta a little bit. Players do want to have that agency and that map control. But given how just kind of my assumptions about Nice, he does like to play late game. Certainly in PvZ he does. I mean, for the longest time, he was one of the few players that was interested in dragging those games back to like 40 minutes. Again, PvP is a little bit different. So I think Nice, compared to maybe some other players, is going to be okay with the state of things, assuming he actually builds some Immortals here. Because for right now, SCV sitting here on 10 Stalkers to 10, hallucinating, well, Nice hallucinates a couple. That's fun. but he has blink and his opponent doesn't. So technically the far superior army here, even with the shield battery.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. SCV now drops a Dark Shrine as well, even though he already has a Robo too. So it's quick blink, it's a Robo as a follow-up, and now he goes for a Dark Shrine. But Nice as an observer, literally chilling in his natural. If he keeps it there, he's obviously going to be totally fine against these Dark Templars down the line. It's a funny, unique PvP. Nice does need to make sure, SCV needs to make sure that he doesn't overstay his welcome, because it feels that Nice now has slightly superior numbers here. Overall, I think that this build has worked out well for Nice. Yes, he dropped the Robo very early, but after he realized he didn't quite need the Robo, he's like, okay, I'm just going to go Twilight, I'm just going to go get my own Blink. That's what he does. He's now the one who goes up to 3 bases, slightly quicker than his opponent, and both of them at this point working towards the Dark Shrine. The only real problem I see for Nice here is if both of his observers go to the other side of the map, right? And then he's vulnerable to DTs. But right now, I want to say that this game is going perfectly fine for a Taiwanese Protoss.
Yeah, it really is. He has... Well, actually, I don't think there's an observer with the army, so it actually seems most of his observers are back home. As now he's going to try to find his way up to the high ground, and technically that should be a good fight for SCV. He gets first shots off, but Guardian Shield makes up for so much here, even though that being said, the Concave for SCV pretty dang solid, and now DTs are on the map onto the other side. Adepts find their way into the natural, so Nice even before the invisible men already. He gets 5. He gets he gets 5 probes, and on the other side, well, these DTs, I don't know how much they're gonna get done. Like, yeah, where are the observers?
They're there. The observer actually saw them already. I don't know if Nice was looking at his mini-map, but the DTs were actually just chilling in range of an observer there for a solid 10-15 seconds. So Nice should be more than ready. He didn't move the ops. I think he could have moved it and blinked towards these DTs immediately. SCV is now going to try to poke with the Stalkers, where he's like, hey man, respect my Stalkers, and then hoping that his Dark Templars can get some damage done. As I believe he saw the DT of Nice as well. So he's probably like, all right, we're both doing the same thing. The first 2 Dark Templars are going for it. Observers are in surveillance mode, but they're not moving, BO. So these DTs might actually still get some damage done. And at the same time, SCV is going to try to make some magic happen with his Blinky boys. I like the way that our Chinese Protoss is doing this.
I really do. 4 probes go down. The natural has to be evacuated. DT in the main is just not dealt with here. And again, well, okay, there we go. There's the observer. And the DT didn't quite target probes down the way you would have liked. He could have gotten probably 10 to 12 probes instead of the 7 that he got. Meanwhile, on the other side, this DT is just absolutely handled, finding no value. And Nice, well, SCV, realizing the Nice is distracted a little bit, is going to blink on top once again. Gets a couple Zealots here, gets some Stalkers, and you're right. I really like the way he's playing here. He has handled the offense really well. He's handled his defense tremendously well. And now, he actually is only up 2 workers despite that, though.
Yeah, but SCV was a bit behind, right? Because he had a later expand, he had a later 3rd base. He was just a bit behind. His initial 2 adepts didn't do anything. We have to keep that in mind as well. So there were a lot of little things that put him ever so slightly behind. Well, after that skirmish, I'd say he's a tiny bit ahead. But this is an awfully close game between 2 guys that seem to be very competitive. And that really is what the Swiss format is all about, right? We make our way through 2 weeks of group stage play to basically get towards a final day like this, where every match is do or die. Winners advance, losers are eliminated, and we expect the games to be close. Well, that first series had potential to be close, but XY was just very smart. This, I think, couldn't have been any more even 10 minutes into game 1.
Yeah, Roddy, we were talking in the break about who we thought was gonna win, who we thought was favored, and I don't think either of us had a really solid idea. It's like maybe by name recognition, Nice is maybe a little bit more favored, but the Chinese region has been showing us in general that they are probably the best sub-region out of the new Asia super region that we have right now. And you're right, SCV has impressed in the games that we've seen leading up to this moment. As he blinks forward, gets an observer. Okay, well, that's nice. Actually, that's SCV. But I think if we're going to look at this game, SCV has been making some incredible moves. He has been on the micro level, I think, outperforming. He got a bunch of damage with his DTs. He took advantage. He blinked in. But on the macro level, he's not doing as much. You know, his 4th base is slower. He has not been probing. He's cutting probes, I guess. I mean, he's only on 58. He has not been probing for a while. But it's not like he has a big timing to get aggressive on, right? +2 is a 1/3 of the way done. You know, he's maybe the War Prism you move out with, but I don't really see anything that he is like specifically cutting probes to hit a timing for.
No, maybe he just didn't want to build probes in case Nice would attack him, and he didn't want to have oversaturation on 3 bases before base number 4 was done. Since his 4th base is finishing up now, I think now he will go back into probe production. But of course, a slightly more optimal way of going about it would have been to have those probes ready to saturate that base immediately. But it did give him a few more battle units. Nice has invested in the Nexus earlier. Nice built all these probes, but they haven't necessarily paid for themselves just yet. If nothing happens in the next 2 minutes, yeah, obviously Nice is going to be cooking, but SCV is going to try to make something happen. Nice, however, will be the one with +2 attack though, and +2 is obviously a pretty big deal. It's not as big as it is in some of the TVT fights. There is absolutely a chance that SCV gets the job done here. Crazy fight near a battery. He needs to kill that battery if he wants to win that fight. That is exactly what he does. Gets in range of the Immortal as well, and look at the Immortals of SCV in the back line. They should be able to get a couple of great shots up.
Yeah, okay, so the first Warpin was really good coming in there from Nice, and there we go. The Immortal's a little bit more exposed. Last Archon goes down, and now it's all about the Zealot reinforcements here coming in from SCV, as now the Immortals, their hardened shields have been popped, but do you jump on top of this if you're Nice? Seems like the answer's no right now. More Zealots, they join the fray. And you talked about it, Roddy. Now it's +2 on both sides, but the Immortal Stalkers blink forward, and Nice can't deal with that. Not yet. Even still, SCV had a 20 army supply lead going into this, and it does not seem like he's going to be able to sustain that.
I really like that blink, by the way, there by SCV to protect his Immortals. That was very smart. But Nice now working on double forge, both upgrades. The main reason why Nice survived, though, is just all the static defenses, right? He had so many batteries at the 3rd base, still does. He also had a cannon and a battery in the natural, and a couple of the units of SCV were fighting that cannon, couldn't quite kill it. Without static defenses, I think 100% that's a victory for SCV, but Nice just made the correct adjustments. Now he's a little bit out of position, though, as he lost track of this army, and that means that these cannons are going to be left all by themselves. The cannons go down very quickly. Great army movement here by SCV, but it also means that he's kind of stuck, right? How will this army of SCV survive? How will he get out of here? Is he going to be forced to fight? Apparently the answer is yes. He believes that he can take this fight. He has a couple of Zealots. There's still so many Stalkers on the side of Nice, so the base has fallen, but I think that Nice wins the army fight.
The one thing we do have to consider is that SCV's got a couple more gateways. He does have the ability technically to reinforce more, but when you take a fight up a ramp like this, into a concave like this, I'm sorry, Roddy, 2 extra gateways do not make the difference here. Yeah, SCV gets the base, but Nice wins everything else. And at this point, it's going to be really hard for SCV to hold on to the reinforcements. I mean, you know, as I say that, though, already SCV, I mean, he does have better, his army supply is recovering. He is continuing to build those Immortals. He's got 1, second one on the way. His economy is in a much better spot. So it's tempting to say, yeah, well, Nice just runs across the map here. He smashes the army, that should be fine. But I think one of the things we were looking at was SCV warping it at home. We didn't have, when his entire army on the other side of the map was wiped out, it was not as his entire army as it was at the start of the fight. 1 or 2 warping rounds went down at the 3rd base because the warp prism, went down. So SCV couldn't reinforce at the fight, and that meant that swung a little bit in Nice's favor. But again, his entire army going down was not as impactful as it had been if that had happened a minute ago.
No, it was just a good old trade, a good old-fashioned trade in the end, where at first SCV was doing good in the fight, but not quite good enough to kill all the static defenses. Then he went for that beautiful rotation through the bottom. Nice lost track of him. If the Stalkers were in position, I don't think that Nexus dies. In the end, now the cannons and the battery and the Nexus did die, but Nice obviously ends up winning the fight. One more reason why I think Nice couldn't just grab the remaining 15 or so Stalkers and run to the other side of the map is that is just not a big enough army to end the game with. Like, it's a good army, and he maybe would have been able to pick off 2-3 units while not losing a whole lot on his side, but you can't fight in range of the static defense of your opponent. And the biggest problem for Nice was he had no pylon and a gateway on the other side of the map. He had no war prism. So like, how do you end the game with 15 Stalkers if you can't reinforce yourself? Like, it was just a good old-fashioned trade in the end, where SCV now was economically ahead for quite some time, but obviously by not rebuilding that Nexus, maybe Nice's economy is going to take over again, as Nice still had more probes, because he may have lost the Nexus, but he didn't lose the probes. SCV, though, is the one that's transitioning into double Disruptor. Nice playing double Forge. This is just an awesome game, man. 16 minutes in, and these guys are still awfully close to one another.
And they really are. It's funny. After that fight, you talk about how Nice didn't lose too many SCVs. SCV was up, I think, 2 workers. At the end of that fight, enough SCVs went down, and SCV finally did probe behind it. But it really, if you want to talk about economic disparity here. The big difference appears to be is that SCV does not want to oversaturate his bases, and Nice is willing to. So Nice is willing to overprobe and then, you know, super saturate for a moment to get himself ready for the next base. But SCV would rather build army and rather build infrastructure with that same money. So we can see now he's building 4 probes at a time, but that's because his 5th nexus is halfway done. Nice, he'd be on 82 workers right. He is on 82 workers right now. The thing we have to consider though is that because SCV is not willing to go to the as high of a probe count, his army at max is going to be so much bigger. And when we talk about Blinkstalker Tarzlot versus Blinkstalker Disruptor, I gotta, in a straight up fight, you almost gotta favor the Disruptor player.
Via, you gotta acknowledge this one because it's kind of funny. As these armies are very close to each other, but I do think that we're just gonna run away because there are disruptors in the mix. SCV completely forgot that he had a Dark Shrine and he built DTs in this game. So now 17 minutes in, after all the craziness, he's like, oh no, I'm rich, I should spend it, I should get a Dark Shrine. It's like, mate, you already have a Dark Shrine, you literally built DTs in this game. That's kind of funny. Yeah,
it's one of those things where you're 17 minutes in, you forget what happened in the early game, and also your tournament life is on the line. Nice is experienced with this. He has dealt with this time and time again. He's won regionals. SCV's new. He hasn't really dealt with this all that much. The disruptors will not land, and well, Nice thinks about re-engaging for a second. And the thing we have to consider, Nice has 2 upgrades. So if this is just a straight up fight, the disruptors are not finding their value as, oh, one right in the front's not what you want. SCV blends forward here on top of the army, but it will force Nice back. Nice's army in a straight up fight, Zealot versus Zealot, Stalker versus Stalker, he will win. He has so much better upgrades. So it really is all going to be on the disruptor counts. And now that Nice is, around the corner here, maybe disruptor shots are going to go out and it's not going to get much. On the backside though, SCV gets a couple more here and this fight gets even crazier.
Yeah, I mean, upgrades are great, but the army positioning at this point is just a whole lot more important, and maybe disruptor count is more important as well. 6 disruptors against 4, but at this point, it's still just so damn close between these guys, and it really just comes down to who gets a better fight. The only thing I'd love to see from Nice, if he wants to be this aggressive, is get a pilot and a gateway on the other side of the map, mate, because reinforcements are so important if we are rich and we're working with 10 or 12 gateways. There are disruptors coming in from the left. They could potentially land a big shot there. Disruptors in range from both sides. What am I looking at? Oh, the flanking disruptor. It falls short. It got so close.
It did get 1 disruptor though, and that did, even more importantly, Nice was able to really zone SCV out of his base. So that's going to be a dead base, but now disruptors are going to go down here, and SCV significant with the disruptor advantage. But the problem is, oh, he's going to get 1 on the backside as well, trailing disruptor from Nice. But again, Roddy, the problem is SCV struggling to track this army down, and the disruptors are great if you can bring them into a fight. Stalker's blink on top. They get another one, and on the left side, here comes the disruptors of SCV. He senses opportunity with this heavy count, but he blinks forward, and he now has to go backwards, bowling positive in Nice's favor. And despite the disruptor lead that SCV has built for himself, it's 5-3. He can't really bring his army to bear.
Well, he does have a better army, though. We can't ignore that. Like, he's got more Stalkers, and that's the most important unit there, because they can obviously avoid the Novas. He also has 3 Immortals in the mix. I believe the 16 Zealots are not going to be all that impactful. I kind of like it for SCV, but what I said about Nice will go for him, too. I feel that if you want to make an attack like this, if you want to be this committed, you need to get a Prism, because the reinforcements are really going to make all the difference. The battery overcharge got popped, got picked off immediately. Great Novas on the top side of our screen there, as we have a good defensive Nova as well. But the army is stuck. He is cornered. How is he going to escape here? There are batteries everywhere. There are reinforcements coming in from Nice. I think SCV is going to have a hard time getting out of this spot.
He's just buying time for those disruptors to go off, but they will never go off, not in this game at the least, as SCV's going to run away, get a couple disruptors on the backside. But this is so much worse for SCV than it was for Nice. Nice had a fighting retreat. He lost his disruptors, but he really didn't lose much else. And you might argue that losing your disruptors is by far the most important thing, but he kept the mobility of his army alive. He got out really unscathed for the most part. Nice, he got a base that was building. He did not kill that many SCVs. He really didn't get that much, or SCV didn't get that much out of this. And he lost almost all of his disruptors. He is down sitting here in upgrades, +2 shields versus nothing. And Nice's economy, he's still up. What is that? 20? Yeah, he's up 22 workers. He can mine so much more, and his army is just bigger at this point.
DTs are going to find that base in the bottom side of the map. It's a whole bunch of cannons, but since the DTs show up right before the cannons are done, I think that the Dark Templar should be able to have a field day there. As SCV is counter-attacking right now with just Stalkers, and that's obviously a bit smarter than going with Immortals and Disruptors. Like, it's not that SCV got outplayed there or anything, it's just he walked himself into a trap, right? You cannot fight in range of 5-6 batteries, a cannon, and reinforcements of 12 gateways while you don't have that. Like, even if he landed the biggest Novas out there, he would still not win that fight. It was just defender's advantage there truly shining through, and that is what allowed Nice to win that fight. Nice has also done a great job in just expanding non-stop. SCV is trying to keep up as he has taken that base in the top right side, and he has, by the way, Research Shadow Strike on his Neo Dark Shrine. He's just like out with the old and in with the Neo. He's like, no, if I'm gonna win this game, it's Shadow Strike from my Neo Dark Shrine. Okay, the second one. This is still craziness all over the place. Stalkers being a proper nuisance, taking out a couple cannons. Taking out other cannons could open the door for DTs to be even more annoying and maybe find some success here as well. But SCV needs to be careful. He cannot stick around too much longer because he's going to get cornered.
Yeah, look how many observers Nice has with his army as well. It means that SCV will likely never have the vision advantage. He just there's too much damage, too much HP buffer to make sure that you keep your observers alive. And now, well, Nice A knows where the army is, so he sieges that one observer up, and there are just so many so many disruptors here. Nice, his stalker count, or SCV's stalker count is good. He's up 11, but he's never able to bring their damage to bear in a way that he would like because the disruptors, they're just consistently shooting off, and we're at oh God, okay, well, could have been worse. That was still pretty bad.
Could have been worse. I actually would have loved to see SCV warp in 10 Zealots on the top side of the map, because then he would have had a surround with Zealot, Stalker, and Zealots coming in from the top and right side, as he has a couple of Stalkers with his main army as well. And I believe that was maybe a way to win, because that is where gateway units can be slightly better than Stalker Disruptor. But obviously, if the armies just stare each other down, yeah, then we always favor the army with the Disruptors. SCV just felt he was too broke to go back into a Disruptor war or try to get more Robo units out, so he went pure gateway. And I don't even hate it, but yeah, then if there is an opportunity to surround your opponent, you need to capitalize on that opportunity.
Yeah, you really do. And Nice has enough disruptors at this point that he can just constantly send those Nova out. And this is where things start to get really problematic. Your 2-3 Novas hit, SCV's supply absolutely plummets. And Nice shows us what experience means, because I think at times Nice was in a horrible spot in that game. SCV was, he was really setting the tempo. He had more disruptors. He had this better army. Nice commits to a base but loses a lot. And you're like, okay, well, you know, Nice has more workers, but if you can't mine from bases, that doesn't really matter. And then in the macro game is where kind of Nice really came through. He kept his probe count high. He kept expanding, and he played the map really well. Whereas Nice,
yeah,
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go. No, you go ahead. You go ahead. I thought you were done, mate. You go ahead.
Whereas SCV, he played the fights really well. I mean, his micro was really, really nice, but it doesn't matter if you just don't have enough units, and it doesn't matter if you're not able to replenish your units and replenish and develop your infrastructure behind that to make those fights actually worth something.
Yeah, it was a damn close game. It was ultra competitive between these two for the longest time. I mean, 23 minutes in, and even 1 minute before the end, I think there was a tiny opportunity still for SCV, where instead of that Zealot warp in his natural, he would have warped in those Zealots at the base that he had in the top right side. Those Zealots would come in from the back, then he would be the one with a surround. But a lot of things, it was just like tit for tat, right? It was awfully close. They both got wins, they both got losses. It's just the moment that SCV fully committed on the triangle base of Nice, like there was no escape there, and that's just an unfair fight. It's not that like Nice did a whole lot better there, and it's like, wow, look at Nice, he avoided all the split, he got the perfect engagement. No, it's just he's got 5 batteries and a cannon helping out with the fight, and immediate reinforcements of 12 gateways, which means he's gonna have an additional 28, 30, or even 40 supply participating in a fight that goes on for that long with all the healing power too. Like, no one is winning that fight, right? You can put Max Packs in the position or Hero in the position of SCV there. Those are just not fights you win because you're trapped. So SCV made a mistake there. That's maybe the inexperience and the nerves of allowing himself, to walk into that trap. But besides that, I thought our Chinese Protoss played a mighty fine game. And I loved it, man. I thought it was an awesome performance by both players. I hope that Game 2 is just as good as Game 1. Tournament live on the line for these two. Both of them have 2 wins and 2 losses in the group. And it obviously means a win, and you get the magical 3. And you lose, and you get the ugly tree. No one wants the ugly tree, Bio. Let's go ahead and hop into game 2.
In the upper right, in the blue, he's looking for the green 3, not the red 3 or the ugly 3. As Roddy said, for Mystery Gaming, it's SCV.
Awesome first game by him, and I'm really starting to become a bit of a fan of that Chinese Protoss. In the bottom left side, a dude that we've all been fans of for a long time, because he is good and he always shows up when he travels to some of these foreign tournaments, and he takes down some of the bigger names that Europe has to offer. Our Taiwanese Protoss, he's up 1-0. Can he be the second Taiwanese player to make it into the playoffs? This is nice.
And I think the thing that we need to talk about, we touched upon it a little bit, right? Nice has all of this experience. He's played, he's won regional finals, he's been in the finals, even more than he's won it. You know, I think he's won once or twice. He's certainly been run into Haas more times than that. But the important thing is, not only does he have a lot of experience in high level, high leverage matchups, he's got a lot of experience in high leverage PvP matchups. And while Haas is not necessarily a player that will take you to the late game, regardless, you will get taken to the late game. Like there is no stopping. There's sometimes the PvP will go late. So we saw Nice again. He, even in positions where he was not in the best spot, he did not panic. He just took his base again. He probed up again, and well, you will occasionally lose games. I mean, even if you're in a good spot, even if you do play everything appropriately from a negative position, you will still lose those games sometimes. And I mean, if you're behind, technically you will lose those games more than you win. But by just having that implacable sense of what you have to do, what the path is to get back into a game, it makes it a lot easier to handle situations like this.
Absolutely. I just hope that we get more of that previous game, because I really loved it. I thought it was a great showing by both players, man. None of them were like really floating money on certain moments, right? None of them made big, ultra crucial game-ending mistakes, perhaps besides when the army got surrounded. But yeah, that's after like 18 minutes of battling, of trading, of both of them opening up with blink stalkers, both of them going DTs. It's just really cool stuff. That's obviously what we hope for here on the final day of group stage action. I believe that SCV opened up with Stalker Adept, and he's got a single Adept just scouting a little bit on the other side of the map, and he will once more drop a Nexus, so I'm happy to see that. No 3-gate robo yet. Nice on the other end though. Will he embrace the macro game one more time? He's got some money. It's definitely looking like he wants to expand, but I don't trust it until I see a Nexus go down, Bio.
Yeah, this is a pretty late. He's even got probe in position. There we go. So Nexus is going to go down, but that is a pretty late Nexus, Roddy, compared to what SCV wants to do. So here's the question, right? Because Nice took this Nexus later, what does he get? He has 4 Stalkers versus 2 Stalkers, an Adept and a Sentry, but actually, excuse me, 2 Sentries now, but there is a shield battery on the low ground. Even if 1 Sentry doesn't have a ton of energy, this should be enough for SCV to hold on. So what value does Nice get out of this delayed opening?
Nothing. It gives him safety, peace of mind. If that is a value, mate, then he definitely got that. There is also a world. I'm very familiar with the 4 Stalker opening, by the way, as he is out microing it a little bit. And if SCV does not get that Nexus to finish up, he's got no overcharge. I think now he can just run down the low ground. He could overcharge. He's actually not going to do that. He lets the battery die, and he will just defend with additional warp pins. So I guess Nice got a shield battery, right? That's the value he got. Other than that, it's not a whole lot. If there is a world where SCV is a very greedy boy and he wouldn't have built that battery, he would have been in a lot of trouble, because then you just cannot defend the low ground for a while. You're going to lose that pylon too, and things just kind of get ugly real quick. Nice just played very safe. That's the simple way of putting it. Did he get anything out of playing very safe? No, other than the fact that he can say that he's a very honest boy and that he would have been safe against the cheese. Look at the Dark Shrine timings, by the way, Bio.
Oh man, this is where I wish we had split screen set up, because just watching them complete at the same time would be fun. But for now, the big difference here, of course, the fact that Nice has a robo. SCV does not. So Nice technically is going to have a better DT delivery mechanism and a better way to defend against the DTs. So this becomes a little bit interesting, right? Like, what is the first unit? Okay, there we go. It will be an observer out of the robo from Nice. It's not going to get a quick War Prism. And now I'm a little bit worried for SCV. You know, he's gone for the Dark Shrine. He's gone for the Twilight. And by the way, that has been scouted by the Hallucinated Phoenix. So Nice knows that this is Dark Shrine play coming out of SCV. SCV does not know the same for Nice. And we're starting to get to a point where we really need that Robo, and we just don't have it.
All right, Hallucinated Phoenix is flying around on the other side of the map. SCV will now scout the Dark Shrine. I want to say it's a very, very close call, but I think it will barely be a big enough heads up that he can get away with it. Because obviously we can always keep DTs out of our main base. Nice does not have a warp prism, right? So he's not going to warp in DTs in the main. It's a little too close for comfort. I'll definitely agree with you on that one. But at least SCV knows right now, and I think he's still going to be okay. Because he's even checking. He's like, okay, do you have a pilot and a gateway on my side of the map? Are there going to be some very quick DT warp-ins? That is not the case. First DT is just kind of walking towards the other side of the map. This DT will be annoying. And it's gonna get some damage, but it shouldn't get too much damage. Ah, that's cute. He's hallucinating the Immortal, where he's like, hey man, if I were you, I wouldn't do this. My Robo's done. I love that. Oh my god, I love that, mate. That's actually my favorite hallucination I've seen in a while. It's super stupid and useless, but I love it.
The problem, of course, is that the DT saw the hallucination pop, so it really wasn't. Yeah. It's so fun, but not gonna happen. Even still, really no workers go down. But meanwhile, Nice on the third base here. He's got a lot of stalkers. Shield battery overcharge keeps the Nexus alive for quite a while though. And SCV blinks forward. Oh, he's gonna get an observer. Not much more than that, but an observer's a nice prize.
Yeah, so Nice definitely a little bit ahead just because his DT was still able to get some damage done, got a unit there, and obviously forced SCV to pull all the probes away from the natural. I'm still smiling, man. I love that. I have never seen that, and yeah, it didn't work out because the DT was already there and he saw it. But if that really was the intention, and I genuinely believe it was, I just think it's an awesome play. It makes me so happy because I've never seen it. It's like, hey man, you shouldn't do this. I've got an Immortal. It makes me so happy.
I love nothing more than just really creative hallucination usage. It's hallucinating 4 probes because you really don't need to see in their main base anymore. You just kind of want to see what's happening on the map. You add zealots into a fight because, well, okay, it's just confusing. I don't really... I don't quite understand that one. You hallucinate a Colossus to get high ground vision so you can attack into the main, which, by the way, is a thing that I want to say Chelch does, who is a UK Protoss player. Be creative, right? Don't just hallucinate a Phoenix or maybe an Oracle. Like, make use of them for all it's worth. So yeah, that was fantastic. That made me so happy. But now Nice, he's on the other side, and this pylon, this prospective fourth base, that's not gonna happen.
No, I love all the things you mentioned there, but yeah, those are all plays that we're familiar with, we've seen. I have legitimately never seen this one. It's like, I'm kind of an observer, you shouldn't. And he didn't. It was awesome. SCV obviously still in a bit of trouble. For as happy as he made us, he's probably not making himself very happy with the fact that that one observer was still a little bit late, and he obviously fell a bit behind. Now, is he so far behind that we can start talking about Nice getting the job done? I wouldn't want to be that dramatic, but Nice is definitely way further ahead in the early stage here on Royal Blood than he was ever in Grass 1, right? And that turned into an awesome macro-oriented game. This one, it can get dicey. Now, if SCV can find the War Prism here, that would be a little feel-good moment. And that man definitely needs just a little mental victory right now. Doesn't see it, as Nice is gonna warp in a couple of Zealots. This can honestly get very scary, man. There is a +1 advantage as well on the side of Nice. Now, +1 is close to finishing up for SCV, but it's not quite there yet. He knows about the Prism, I believe. No, he didn't see it. Uh-oh. That Prism is gonna hurt, BO.
Yeah, big warp in at the front as well. So on top of that is a DT tries to find its way in, but Cannon deals with that thing for the most part. But all warp-ins have been spent at the front, so the DTs and the Zealots into the main base, that is not something that SCV can deal with. And he's not reacting to the pressure on his fourth base as well. Oh, Nice. He's found his opportunity. Now the Stalkers blink over the force fields, but this is such a mistake. This is just so many dead Stalkers here. It's not worth in the slightest. Eventually they get out, but it's chaos. It's bloodshed. It's pandemonium. 10 probes go down in the main base. The fourth base falls. So many Stalkers hit the deck, and Nice has cracked this game so far wide open.
Yep, Nice was a little bit ahead, but it's often quite hard to capitalize on tiny advantages. But Nice said, all right, Roddy, just watch and take notes. This is how we get very far ahead after we created a lead for ourselves. And beautiful play by Nice. He's honestly playing an impressive best of 3 here, man, with his tournament live on the line. Probably had high expectations coming into ESL Masters Asia, right? Where he's like, all right, I'm the champ of Taiwan. I've won Taiwan over and over again. I know in the beginning it was quite often Has, but over the last 2 years it was way more Nice than Has. He's like, and now I'm going to show what I'm made of. Suddenly you find yourself on that final play day in the group stage. Probably not quite what he envisioned for himself. But he's playing a beautiful best of 3 here, man, against a good Chinese Protoss. Because I love a lot of things that I've seen from SCV, but he's getting punished here for, just falling ever so slightly behind. Beautiful play by Nice with the Prism, the decisive army movement. Also the decision of already having those 4 units. So SCV didn't have time to react in time to save his cannon. And then it's 3 Zealots, a DT, and a bunch of additional Zealots being warped in. Immediately going for the pylon to empower a bunch of gateways. It's just all very high level stuff from Nice.
Yeah, of course, we're giving Nice a lot of credit here, but SCV's decision to blink over the force fields and just lose all his stalkers was really not great. But for now, Nice trying to pressure forward here. He does have that +2 advantage. +2 is done. He's up only about 2 army supply. But again, the big deal, he has all the time in the world. SCV is only on 3 bases. Nice is going up to 5 here. His tech will only continue to increase, but Disruptors, they maybe make something happen. But yeah, as Nice just tries to punish the whole position, he gets another stalker for his troubles, even as Nice, or even as SCV blinks forward. So Nice is just showing the class. Right? Okay, you're on hold position. Let me kill a stalker before you react. Oh, you're going to stay here defensively. You got a disruptor. That's fine. I got a 5th base on the way. I got a 6th base on the way. I'm taking the gold. I am taking every little bit of something out of this map. So even if you do max out here, SCV, you're not going to win the remax. Not by a long shot. And he's adding in 2 robos. So he's going triple robo disruptor here.
Yep, SCV obviously is going to give himself a chance by just getting that double robo production up and running and getting a bunch of disruptors out, because no matter how far you fall behind in, macro or whatnot, if you get an army with a couple of disruptors, you are going to give yourself a shot. So I do really love that decision making too, because if he would have just spammed Zealots and Stalkers and he would have just run to the other side of the map, he's not going to win. He's down in upgrades, he's down in economy. That will never get the job done. He's giving himself the only tiny chance that he could possibly get. And if you look at the army supply right now, because Nice has built 91 freaking probes, Rainer would be very proud of that amount of probes, but that obviously creates a problem. His maxed out army supply will be 109. That's currently what he's working with. SCV, he's nowhere near maxed out, and he already has 122 army supply. Like, there really is a chance for SCV. It's not a big one. Nice is pretty damn far ahead, but I love it. The fact that he can even turn this into something that can get us excited, I feel like is already a win.
Yeah, so for now, the Stalkers on the left side, they've actually spent their blinks, so the Disruptors might find something here. And this is a really good position here from SCV as he knocks down more Zealots. He will lose the 4th base, and that really is the problem. Yes, it's a bigger army supply, and yes, those Disruptors are really nice. But Nice is going to have to trade so cost inefficiently from here on out to make his advantage start to disappear. He's taking both golds already. Like, yes, 91 probes is a lot. Yes, your max out's only 101 or 109 army supply. But if you can remax, if you can put yourself up on 13, on 15, on 17 gateways, you will start to flood out your opponent in a way that SCV...
Disruptor... Sorry.
Oh.
Nice didn't see it. There was a disruptor awfully close to the army of SCV, and I was like, it's gonna land at Nova. I obviously fully wholeheartedly agree with everything that you said, but Nice was very close to just straight up winning this game. When he won that fight and he got a massive Zealot warping in the main base, and now we're looking at a game where I kind of believe in SCV. Like, is he in trouble? Sure, he's in some trouble. He's obviously pretty far behind in a lot of metrics, like upgrades, like economy, like maybe production, but SCV is still giving himself a chance. And I think that's something we can already really applaud. As Nice is going to get on top of this base, though. Trading out a base for a base is not a good choice for SCV, because Nice has a whole bunch of bases, and SCV doesn't have too many. Now this fight, the forward blink, first disruptor dies, second one dies, and now we need to not lose too many units against those Novas. I think SCV did quite alright. Like, SCV's path to victory would be to force Nice to take a big fight in the middle of all of his bases, right? Maybe between the natural and the 3rd base, as he blinks forward, there's a flanking disruptor, but that Nova falls short. What a fight so far by SCV, but now he needs to keep going. He needs more. He can't play the ultra passive waiting game.
No, you're right. He had to turtle up, had to force a fight at his base and just really start to make something happen. Oh, shot. Okay, not gonna hit much. But SCV losing his 3rd base for Nice's 2nd gold. It's kind of a devil's bargain. On the one hand, you need to knock that down. Your economy is going to be far too shot. If Nice starts taking SCV's bases, I mean, that's just that's too much of a problem. But on the flip side, you move out and you will lose one of the only mining bases you have. Stalker's playing forward here. Disruptor shots are not going to go out, not just yet. Oh, wow. SCV, he dodges everything on the backside. That Disruptor's not going to land here as well, but it's a fighting retreat. And now, okay, Disruptor shot does not really land. This is an opportunity here. Disruptor is not going to get anything. SCV taking the best fight he possibly can, but the reinforcements on the backside, they're doing so much more. SCV takes the best possible fight that he could ever take. But the reinforcements and the disruptors and the zealots coming in from the backside, the upgrades, they make it impossible. And nice. He does what we expect. What we expected. He moves on to the playoffs. But SCV, I gotta say, despite